everyone. I am here to rant again, and I hope that is okay. And I'm here to rant about, I don't know, the direction that the film industry is headed in, because, I don't know, it's weird that it's so often that we are seeing headlines about the box office and how lots of movies are bombing and not doing well, and the opening weekend is like, we expected more money. It's just weird. It's unfortunate. It's confusing because movies are very expensive to make, or at least we make them expensive to make. And it's just like you are spending so much money and to not get a return on your investment, or a bigger return on your investment, or that the numbers are lower than projected. I think that is a problem when you're spending hundreds of millions of dollars. I think that's a problem. Even if you spent $1 million, that's a lot of money. And of course, if you're spending $1 million, that's considered low budget, and obviously low budget, maybe you don't get your money back. That makes more sense a little bit than when you spend $100 million and then you don't get that back. Because how do you spend that much money if profit is not guaranteed? In the scope of things, that's how I feel about things. If you're spending massive amounts of money, it better be a sure thing. And it's not a sure thing, it seems to be, according to these headlines and these reports. So I guess let me get into it. The reasons why I think that, one, films are not doing that great, and why I believe we should focus more on original movies and slow down on just sequels and adaptations and readaptations. I think they're great, don't get me wrong. I love a great adaptation. I love, sequels, but adaptations, let's go. Like, I am a fan, but I think we should slow down a bit on that. And I guess I'm going to talk about why some of these original and or indie films or these low budget films aren't getting a lot of attention. Because the reason why I think that we are focusing more on existing IP instead of like original ideas is because the original ideas are not making a lot of money. But I wonder why. I think it probably has a lot to do with marketing. I think that people just simply do not know about these films. Therefore, if they do not know about them, they are not going to see them. I saw someone comment somewhere that they think that studio executives don't know how to market to, I guess not technically the executives, but they're the ones who are in charge, but they don't know how to market to a modern day audience. And maybe that is true. Because obviously, if you go see movies often, you're going to be exposed to trailers. That is, if you show up at the showtime. If you don't show up at the showtime, if you intentionally skip trailers, you're not going to be advertised for movies for later in the year or the next year. So I think one of the biggest problems is the marketing. I just feel like that is the case. And I know the lower the budget of the film, the less money that goes to marketing, but maybe that shouldn't exactly be the case. Maybe we should increase the amount of marketing for a lower budget film, because obviously lower budget means maybe no-name actors, people we don't know, or ideas we're not familiar with. So you have to spend more time, energy, and money convincing us that it's going to be worth our time, which I don't think that should be an issue. And then maybe less money on the bigger films, because it's a big film. Everybody's kind of going to be talking about it. It's like, if it's like Marvel, like, we kind of know. It's going to get around. But if it's just some like film with some idea that hasn't been talked about before, with actors that we're not familiar with, it's going to be harder to get around, right? And that kind of brings me to a point that I'm definitely going to talk about later, but I would like to like jump to the publishing industry, because somehow I think they sort of have figured it out, right? I think there are a lot of indie authors out there who have like put in the work, and they have like a little fan base, and then traditional publishing kind of comes in and they're like, okay, we're gonna publish your backlist, and then also here's the deal, we want more work from you. And obviously, if they're like an indie author, while they might have a readership, the majority of people probably haven't heard of them. So somehow, though, by the time they get their first release, it's like this big thing. There's a big buzz about it, for a lot of debut authors. Well, not a lot, but some of these debut authors. And even if they haven't like had a novel out before, indie published or not, like it's their first book ever and their first traditionally published book, somehow I feel like marketing, book talk exposure, I think that like contributes to a debut author's success. But like, basically, my point is that I feel like a lot of debut authors do get like a shining moment. And if they don't, the beautiful thing about it is that 2 years later, like, the book is still available at the same price, right? I know publishing isn't exactly the same. It costs far, far less money to produce a book than it does to produce a movie. But that's the thing. If we make more movies that are far less expensive, you know, maybe $10 million instead of $300 million, maybe we can have the time to have a movie just sit. And I know, again, there can't be as many movies as there are books like produced in 1 year, but it's sort of the general same idea. I feel like they should sort of like kind of like take notes from publishing, because I feel like publishing has a really good thing going for marketing a little bit. I feel like they just know how to market to their audience and get people to care about a debut author. They get it right in publishing more times than the film industry gets it right when it comes to marketing to an audience. Okay. Something else I noticed is that a lot of these smaller budget or original films are rated R. And I think that's an obvious problem because, one, you're limiting your demographic by a lot. Because if it's rated R, that means it's probably either there's a lot of, you know, drug use or a lot of cursing or a lot of nudity. And I think, you know, people who are maybe 50 and older probably are not going to exactly be interested in that kinds of content, first and foremost. And I think the people who are interested in it, the younger adults, between the ages of 18 and like 35, I don't know, I think in this generation, this day and age, those people are very busy with work, with young kids, with their lives. And when I say with work, I feel like maybe half of these people probably are working like 1.5 jobs, 2 jobs, maybe even 3 jobs, to like make it. And if they're not, again, maybe they have kids, young kids, they have to take care of. They don't have like time to just be like, oh, we're gonna have a date night and we're gonna go see this rated R movie. Like, I feel like it's just, you're limiting your demographic. I think PG-13 is probably the sweet spot, because I think everybody can go see a movie that is PG-13. Even a 5-year-old, depending on the movie, PG-13 is probably just okay for them. And so if it's PG-13, the parents are probably giving their kids the money, even if the adults are not going. The kids are saying, hey, mom, dad, can we go see this movie? And they're giving them the money, right? But if it's rated R, kids who have more free time than adults, like, they're not gonna obviously be able to see the rated R movie because they're not allowed to get in. So I think movies, it's a leisure activity. I feel like those should be something that people who have free time can go and see. Now, there is the college demographic, maybe between the ages of 18 and 22, who might have that time and have the money to go. But again, that is such a small demographic, the ages between 18 and 22. You know, I feel like just making rated R original films, I think that's going to be really tough right now to see it take off in popularity, because there are so many people who cannot see it, and then so many people who are not interested at all in seeing it. So I hope I made my point there. And then also, I think a lot of the adults who are in the movie-going demographic were raised by parents who introduced them to the films of the 80s and the 90s, and then them themselves grew up watching solid films in the 2000s. So I think this specific audience is looking for something either nostalgic or something that at least captures the magic of the films that they grew up with. Not that they aren't interested in anything original, but since we're talking about capturing the nostalgia and, you know, mirroring the films of the 80s and the 90s, that brings us to existing IP. And I think the reason why they're playing it safe with existing IP, obviously, is because the reason I just said, but also because I think they think that that is a sure bet, when obviously that's not the case, clearly, evidently, by what we're seeing in the news. It seems to be that too few movies these days have a great opening weekend and a great run in theaters and have a great reception in audiences. Like, it seems that either the audiences love it, but it doesn't do well in theaters, or it does well in theaters and the audience doesn't love it. It's too few that we have like a great combination of both. I think the reason why existing IP still fails a lot is because, one, they don't put enough love, or any love at all, into the writing, the storytelling, and the filmmaking. It's clear that they care more about getting money now instead of sustaining the customer's loyalty to keep us coming back and again and again and again to keep the money flowing in the future. I think they make the movie mostly about seeing your celebrity crush on screen and ensuring that the cast has a big social media following, which is a thing that has been reported on. Obviously, this might perk up some ears, you know, like, oh my God, Timothée Chalamet, oh my God, Zendaya, oh my God, Tom Holland, like, yes, let's go see them on screen. But then again, you can see Tom Holland and Zendaya and Timothée Chalamet like anytime you want on social media. You can see them 24/7 on your screen. Sure, it's a small screen, but you can still see them. Or you can see their past movies, which are streaming. Like, right? You can see them 24/7 whenever you want. So that takes away the novelty of like the whole idea of a movie star. Like, sure, sure they're a star, but you can see them whenever. It's not like this special thing like, oh my gosh, they're only in theaters for the next 3 months. Like, we have to go see it. We have to find time to go see Zendaya on screen. But, like, the fact is, it's just not special because you can see her anytime. So, you know, it becomes less of a selling point. And when you don't put in the proper love and care for that story that they are featured in, like, you can't sell a movie based on that even. You can't be like, oh, we have an amazing story, right? So, and not to say the movies that Timothy, Zendaya, and Tom Holland are in, like, not to say that they're in bad movies or in bad shows or whatever. I just used it as an example. Because if you're just saying, oh, look at all these people who are going to be in this movie, but the movie itself, the story itself isn't great, like, if you can't get people to care about the actors because they just saw them in a movie 2 months ago, and they can watch that movie over and over again at home and, like, stalk their social media, like, at least you should be able to market, like, the film and the story. But if you're not putting the love and the care and the time into that story itself, then what do you have? And when we already have, like, great adaptations or just great films flat out, I don't exactly think people are wanting or needing to see readaptations or a sequel of these movies, or sequel after sequel after sequel, unless they're good, of course, if they challenge the original, which, again, that's very hard, because I know, like, for example, I'll use, like, Back to the Future. I really do love that trilogy, but personally, if they say another Back to the Future is coming out, I would be very hesitant to want to see that. But maybe that's just my personality. I'm a very loyal person. So if I like something and there's something that challenges it, I don't want to support it at all, because I'm very, very, very loyal to that one thing. So the same thing goes for, like, even if for example, the Twisters adaptation, which I recently just saw. I did not get to see it in theaters, unfortunately, but I finally got to see it, and I know there was an original Twisters from the 90s, but honestly, I don't know if I want to see it, because I saw this first, and I liked it a lot. And I'm just now like, that's the one for me. That's the one. Which also begs the question, maybe it's like, how often do we get an adaptation? Maybe it should be a once in a generation thing, you know, once every 20, 25, once every 30 years, and not like 2 or 3 times in a generation. Maybe that's something that should be noted, because maybe, like, this is my Twisters, right? The Twisters of my generation, and I can love this one, and, you know, the last Twisters from 96, I think, that can be the Twisters of my parents' generation. So, you know, maybe that's a thing. I guess what I was saying in the beginning, I think we need to slow it down and kind of figure it out, instead of, like, just throwing everything at the wall. And even so, if it's like once a generation, that makes me think, like, is every movie that's going to come out in a year still going to be a once in a generation adaptation? Like, I feel like that's a problem. Like, I think everything that comes out obviously shouldn't be an adaptation or a sequel. There should be some things that are original, and that next generation, maybe it gets remade, right? So I don't know. Yeah. But I just think that it's going to be hard to make these adaptations, readaptations, and sequels good when their only goal is to get, like, enough footage to put together an intriguing trailer that convinces you to spend your money, you know, and makes you think, like, yeah, this time it'll be different. I think they're going to get it this time. When in reality, it's just the same old movie with too much exposition. You know, I think they're breaking our trust. They have been breaking our trust. And of course, there are a lot of external factors that change things, streaming, which I'm going to get into, and just not having a lot of the same amount of disposable income Like, you see that kids these days are not moving out of their parents' house at the same rate that they were doing last generation. Like, we're kind of broke, so you have to make it worth it. But that's where we get into our next point. We're seeing a lot of book adaptations, and I figure the industry, like I was saying before, should take some pointers from the publishing industry. I don't know, maybe it was luck with Book Talk, but regardless, don't tell me that the movie and the film communities over there can't have some sort of fanatic revival. Publishing has taught us that audiences love a good romance, rom-com, tropey. We love a good romance. We love romance. Also, fantasy is very much adored. So where are the original romance movies? Where are the original fantasy movies coming out year after year or every couple of years? Where are they? Like, of course, we have a few sprinkled in there. I think Anyone But You did like a great job. I personally can't think of any original fantasy movies that have come out. If you know of any, please drop them in the comments below. And I think, again, for romance, Anyone But You, that was like one in how many? Because we get romantic dramas. Those are something that come out. We Still Live in Time. We Live in Time. What was that movie? And Past Lives. Like, we get romantic dramas, sort of like romantic movies, but those are not the same as our tropey romances. Like YA coming of age romance, 10 out of 10. Give us our tropey Anyone But You, 10 out of 10. It did well. And again, I think why we're seeing book adaptations because we're saying, okay, audiences have the potential to like this. Audiences have been loving romances for a while now. Why aren't we getting more? We could have capitalized on Anyone But You. Like, if they were planning from the get to like be like, okay, we're gonna have Anyone But You, and then another one, and then another one, and then another one. Like, we could have had a thing, but it was like Anyone But You and then crickets because they didn't plan. But we know that readers like romance. Readers like fantasy. So where are our original romances? Where are our original fantasies? And I know we can get some of that on streaming, but like, again, streaming, like we're talking about reviving the film industry. Where are the original straight to theaters releases that book readers will like and other people will like? Or other genres, of course, because I know horror. I think we get a lot of original horror, but like, first of all, horror is not a genre that is read very often, and I think, again, horror just doesn't have like the biggest fan base, maybe is what it is. I think a lot of people, like, I feel like the theaters are a great place to see a horror film, but like, it doesn't have that much of a fan base. And if, the film industry is taking pointers from the publishing industry, I think we should focus on maybe genres that are well liked in the reading communities. Like, also maybe a mystery. And something that I've seen also is that I think a lot of originality is going towards TV series, which is great. But unfortunately for me, I am not a series girl. I do not like series. But I feel like, again, this has been brought to my attention. So many TV series are good, great, fantastic. So is it just the sort of dwindling of the film industry and like this kick into episodic television, limited series? That could be the thing, but that would be sad for me because I prefer to watch a movie than to watch a TV series. And if that's the way things go, I think that's the way things go. But if you are a filmmaker and you are a screenwriter and you're an actor, well, no, not an actor, because you'll still have a job, but a screenwriter, not a, person who writes for television, because it's a different art, but someone who writes for movies and someone who likes to watch movies and likes to go to the theater. And don't get me wrong, maybe the theater can like play television there. I think that would be something innovative. But like, I just think that, yeah, like, you take notes. Okay, and I think the great thing about like romance is that those never ever cost $300 million to make, ever. And they should never cost $300 million to make. So you would like save a lot of money. Like, spend your 50 million, whatever, on your romance movie, and then make it back and some. Because again, people like romance, and it was proven. Anyone But You did well, and I know the thing about the industry is it's like, okay, once something is happening is to get on it, but like films take forever to produce, so like you really have to plan ahead, and I don't think they're doing enough planning or proper planning. Like, nobody expected Anyone But You to do what it did, but it did what it did, and now if we get another Anyone But You next year, who knows if it's going to do as well, because things are changing. I think they should have like really thought about that. Like, they should always be thinking ahead, because however long it takes, 2 years, 3 years to get a movie together from conception to final product, you don't have time to like mess around. You really need to be thinking ahead. Last point here, talk about streaming. I know streaming has totally disrupted the industry, but maybe we should like reverse that. I feel like the film industry has the money, the power, and dare I say the leverage. They're losing leverage, but they have the leverage to reverse what's happening, right? Maybe we don't push movies to the streaming platforms for like a year. Like, how about that? And I just saw a headline today, on the day that I'm filming this, I saw it, but I think it's a couple days old, that the CEO of AMC is like, let's bring back the 45-day theatrical window. And like, okay, sure. Yeah, 45 days, okay, but it's still gonna be, 45 days is not a lot to like wait for a movie. It really isn't. Like, it's not a lot. If it's going directly to streaming after that, or even if there's in movies for 45 days and then you can't get it, it's still like, I'm sorry, it's not enough. Especially in the day and age, they will just watch something else on one of these platforms that they are paying for already, I feel like. So like, keep the movie in the theater. Keep the movie in the theater. Like, same thing with publishing. Like, sometimes a book needs time to get its audience. It doesn't just kick off just like that. Sometimes it might be crickets and then boom, out of nowhere. Let it have time to marinate. Let it have time for people to trickle in and see it, and then have it become something, and let people still pay full ticket price for it in the theaters, instead of like, I guess, getting like the royalties from streaming. Like, let it get some time. And I think creating exclusivity and hype for these original imaginative stories, and even the existing IP stories, I feel like maybe more people will show up if you make it somehow more exclusive, and just being like, it's not going to be in streaming in these days. Like, make it like exclusive. It's going to be exclusively in theaters. Something like that, for just more time. And I know that's what the CEO said, but 45 days, it's not a lot, even if you're adding another 30 days on top of that before you can watch it for free on the streaming platform. Because I know sometimes after it'll go, you can like rent it, which again, people will pay for, because someone also said that they don't like how squished in the seats are at the theater, because some people show up sick and you're next to someone who's coughing, blowing their nose, and that can be really uncomfortable. So they would rather pay the $14 or the $6 or the $4 to rent it at home instead of sitting next to someone who's sick. So I think that might be another thing that you do in the theater. Maybe make some auditoriums have different kind of seating. Some will be jammed in, some will be spread out, some will only just like have couple seats here and there, so that people can like choose their experience. Like, we need to innovate. And like I said, also maybe shows, bring shows to the theater, make money that way. And also, I think it was genius bringing back movies that people love. Twilight, The Hunger Games, Lord of the Rings. Bring back the original franchises instead of like any adaptations, right? Bring back the original ones that people love and let them rewatch it in the theater. I think that is great, but we need to keep the things, the innovating going. I also think that readers are spending, right, $30 to $100+ a month. I know that's a big range, but people like me, I'll only buy a book a month sometimes, but people will buy multiple books a month and are paying for, like, you know, their audiobook subscriptions and their Kindle Unlimited subscriptions. People are spending $30 to $100+ on books a month. And like, readers are reading over 50 books a year, you know, 12 to 50 to 300 books in a year. That is a lot of time. So don't tell me, film industry, studio executives, theater CEOs, don't tell me that you can't get more people to spend 15 to 20 bucks per person and 3 hours of their time to see a movie. Don't tell me. You can make them. You should be able to convince them to see one movie a month. At least, you know, as a couple, as an individual, as a family, even. Like, don't tell me like you can't convince a group of friends to go out and spend 20 bucks for the ticket and or more for a drink and a popcorn or some snacks if they are deciding not to sneak any in. Like, don't tell me that you cannot convince them to do that, because the publishing industry has people buying books that they're not even going to read. The publishing industry has people buying books and they're not even going to read them. They're just sitting on the shelves. So like, are you telling me you can't make people go out and watch a movie? Something is wrong here. I think something is wrong. And no, not everyone is a reader, but everybody has like a spending vice. Whether it's clothes, coffee, video games, people like and want entertainment. They want and like to go out sometimes. So what are you guys doing wrong? I don't obviously have all the answers, but do you have any ideas of what they're doing wrong? Please leave your thoughts and ideas in the comments, because it just doesn't make any sense. People do want the price lowered, but again, people are spending their money in places that they shouldn't be. So lure them into the theater, convince them that it is worth it without having to lower prices, because I know that's not going to happen. So convince them that it is worth it. You're convincing people that a $30 book is worth it, which people are obviously against, but are they still spending money on it? Yes. You are convincing people that a $100 pair of jeans are worth it when it's actually not worth $100. So tell me you can't convince someone to go to the theater and watch a movie. 30 bucks a month at the theater? How can you not convince people to do that? It's probably because of the movies that you're releasing and the advertising. You're not advertising it right. You're really not selling. You're not selling your product effectively. So anyway, I just think everyone needs to get it together with improving these scripts and the marketing and the final product. Otherwise, we're going to end up with a generation that is okay with mediocrity, or pretty soon a generation that never steps foot in a movie theater. So those are the options, and neither of them really sound great. So yeah, that's my rant. If you watched this whole thing, thank you so much. Leave me the slate in the theater, the slate in the comment section to let me know that you read this whole thing, and let me know what you think. If you agree, if you disagree, let me know your ideas. But yeah, that's it. Okay. I'll see you next time. Bye. Hello, fellow storytellers and story lovers. I want to thank you kindly for watching my video. If you want to see more from me, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and follow me on Instagram at Melody C. Lane. If you're looking for someone to help you develop your story, I'm available. You can find more information on my website. The link is in the description below.